This is one of my favorite filters in Topaz Studio 2. Now, a few videos back, I did a deep dive on the precision contrast filter, so you might want to go back and watch that video too, because these two filters are filters that I use constantly on my images in my editing workflow. So today we're doing this deep dive into the precision detail filter. Pay close attention to everything that this filter can do for you, because it is a powerful one. So without any further ado, let's get started. Before we actually take a look at the precision detail filter, let's look at some of the online documentation from Topaz. What is precision detail? Precision detail takes a fundamentally different approach to sharpening. Instead of haphazardly increasing edge contrast, precision detail carefully figures out which parts of your image are detail and which are not. Then it lets you independently adjust detail. So precision detail is a very smart filter. It can determine which areas of your image are actual detail areas and which part of your images are actual like softer or out of focus areas. Pretty interesting stuff. Let's read on further. What are the options in precision detail? Topaz Detail works by enhancing the structural information in your image, which is geek code for how the software algorithm works. The precision detail tool figures out which part of the image is actual detail and which parts are soft. The software helps control the detail in small, medium, and large size objects or artifacts in an image. With precision detail, I really enjoy the fact that we can work with small, medium, and large size objects, and we can adjust them independently of each other, really fine-tuning our images with detail to perfection. And finally, let's read the last section here. 3 buttons determine what areas of the image it affects: overall, shadows, or highlights. The slider labels change when you select a different button. There's also a lighting section to make changes to the tonality of the image. A companion slider to the detail slider is a boost slider to tweak the effect. And now it's time for us to really examine this precision detail filter. Armed with that information we've just learned from the good people at Topaz from their online manual. Hey, and by the way, you get that manual by coming up here to the help screen and going to... I don't have my glasses on, so where is it? User guide. It's the first one. Just click on that, and that'll take you to the website, and then you can navigate from there to anything you want to learn about Topaz Studio 2 in the printed form. But we're all about the actually showing you how to do things on this YouTube channel right here. So let's go right up here and click on Add Filter and find Precision Detail. Click that, and we launch Precision Detail. Now let's get started. Let's start out by familiarizing ourselves with the interface here. So we have these 3 buttons: overall, shadows, and highlights. You remember the manual told us about these different things, and we're going to go over them. But then we have overall small detail, medium detail, and large detail. And we also have these boost sliders, which act like a fine tuning for each one of the areas of detail. And then, of course, we have the sharpen slider, which deals with the overall global sharpening of the entire image. And lastly, we come to a lighting section where we can adjust midtones, shadows, highlights. We can set a white point. We can set a black point. But let's start out here with the overall small detail adjustments. Now, what do you think would be small details on this image here? Here's what I think. I don't think the grill. At first I thought, it might be the grill here, but I don't really think so. I think it's really going to be like on these headlights in here, like these little minute areas of detail in here, like these lines and these lines in here. I'm thinking those are going to be my small areas of detail. Now let's start to pull the overall small detail up and watch the grill and watch these lights and see if you see where you see the changes take place. See, I think I'm mainly seeing the change take place in these headlight areas here. Maybe some areas back in here. Let me pull that back. Yeah. So it's looking for small objects. But these areas right in here, it's really pulling out. And it's also going to pull out artifacts if you're not careful. See, if you get too aggressive with this, you can see these areas of artifacts. Now, if I left-click the canvas, you'll see the before, and here's the after. Before and after. Now that's way too much detail. So let me go ahead and start to pull this back. And I'm going to stop at a point where I think it looks good, but not over sharpened in these small areas of detail. So you really got to be careful with these sliders. They're super powerful. Now here's the before and here's the after. But look at the headlights. See that detail really pop out of those headlights? And don't forget, you also have layer masking capabilities with Topaz Studio too. All you have to do is click on the layer mask icon, and you could remove, like if you're getting some artifacts coming up, you can mask those out, so no fear. And I'll be honest with you, when I use precision detail, I'm using it mainly as a local adjustment where I'm just targeting certain areas of my image that I want my viewer to look at. I'm going to sharpen those areas up. That's generally what I do with it. But that's the small detail. Now let's examine the medium detail. But before we do that, I almost forgot. We have this overall small detail boost. Let me zoom in a little bit on these lights. And let's move this boost to the right. It's just going to enhance that a little bit. I don't play with this one too much, to be honest with you. You can remove some detail out of it or add some extra detail in there. I'm just going to double click small detail boost, but I think of that as fine tuning. If I think it's a little too aggressive, I might just move this to the left a little bit and it'll ease off that effect a little bit. But again, I don't use it that often. Now let's move to the medium detail. Now, what do you think the medium-sized areas of detail would be? I would say these headlights, these are medium-sized objects here, and maybe the grill around here, and that's what I think. But let's go ahead and pull that slider, the medium detail. Let's pull it to the right. And yeah, see, it's making these areas a lot more defined. Okay. One other thing I might want to add about this particular filter, this filter can really make your image look horrible. Remember the old days of HDR when people would go nuts with their HDR filters? Well, you can do that with this filter and jack these details up and say, man, look at my detail, but gosh, it'll look horrible, really, to be honest with you. So be careful with it. So right there, it looks horrible, right? But you can see these medium-sized areas of detail really popping up. So now let's pull it to the left and get it just where we like it. But remember also, you can move it the whole way to the left and start to remove detail. Not only can you use it to add detail, but you can also use it to subtract detail. So remember, it'll work both ways, and I use it both ways, I'll be honest with you. So let's just try to sharpen up our medium-sized areas of details to a place where they look really, really nice and natural. Okay, so that's too much, and I would say maybe right there. Now let's look at a before. Here's a before and here's an after. Yeah, so I like that. It's looking really good. So far we've done the small. Now we've done the medium. And don't forget we have the medium boost, which again, I don't use it that much. We can boost up the medium details. Or we could fine tune and take some of that away, depending what you like. But I'm going to leave it right in the center. Now we're moving to the larger areas of detail. Now, what would those larger areas be? You know, I would say like these tires, this frame structure in the car, maybe some of this, this metal back here, these vents and these pipes. Who knows? Let's try it and see. Let's take the overall large detail. Let's start to move it to the right, and we can see those areas getting more detailed, and it's only looking for larger objects, okay? It's not affecting the small objects, but mainly the large objects. Okay, and then we can also move it to the left and remove details, so we can go either way. So let me double click it and get it back to the center where it's not doing anything. So remember, to the left removes, to the right adds. So let's add a little bit of large detail. And I'll just start moving it up and stop where I think it looks right. And I think maybe right about there. And don't forget, you got the boost, so you can boost the large details, or you can take some of that large detail away for fine tuning with the overall large detail boost. I'm just going to set it back to the center right there. Now let's take a look. Here's the before and here's the after. So I'm liking the overall results in the image. I don't think it looks overdone, but it definitely has a lot more detail. And don't forget, we also have a global sharpening here. So if you feel you need a little overall sharpening in the image, you can go ahead and start to move this to the right and just give the entire image a little bit of global sharpening, which covers all the areas of detail at one time, if you feel you need it. But I think maybe just a little bit, not much, if anything. Here's the before and here's the after. So really pulls out a lot of detail in this image, doesn't it? It's really a great filter. I love it. We're going to move into lighting, but before we do, remember, we just looked at overall, and I'll be honest with you, I mainly live in the overall detail adjustments, but occasionally you're going to want to adjust shadow detail and highlight detail. For me, that's not very often, but sometimes you do. In this image here, maybe some of the shadowy areas here in the bumper here and in the radiator here, I might want to bring out some detail. So that would be like a larger area of detail. So let me go to shadows and take the shadow large detail and bump this to the right and watch those areas. See how they get a little more sharper in here. And again, you got to be careful. If you go too far, it's going to go ugly on you here. So be careful with that. And I'm going to say maybe just a little bit on the shadows. And you also have highlights. If you want to bring out any highlight detail, just click on highlights, and it's only going to look for areas of highlight. So if you take this highlight small detail and start to move to the right, it's only looking for smaller areas of detail and highlights. Mainly on these lights right in here, but I don't really see a need to bring those up, so I'm going to double click that. Again, I don't use the highlight too often. Sometimes I'll use the shadow, but I'm mainly living with the overall. And now finally, we'll move down to the lighting section and then we'll be done. Very simple here. You have some mid-tone adjustment, shadow adjustment, highlight, black and white point. Very simple. So if you need to bring your mid-tones up, it's only going to target the mid-tones. Move the slider to the right, you'll lighten up your mid-tones. If you need to darken your midtones, move it to the left. So let me just say I want to lighten my midtones up a little bit. And now I might want to darken my shadows down a little bit. So if you move it to the left, you'll darken your shadows. Move it to the right, you'll lighten your shadows. Be careful because you can be very aggressive with these adjustments. Topaz always give you a lot of room to make your adjustments. For instance, I'll just show you here. If I move this shadows the whole way to the right, watch what happens. The image goes really ugly real fast. So they give you a lot of range there. So they let you make the decision. But choose wisely. Remember the old Indiana Jones movie? Choose wisely. So be careful on those ones, okay? So I might just want to slightly darken my shadows a little bit, something like that. And then highlights. If you need to lighten up the highlights, move the highlight slider to the right. If you need to ease off the highlights, move it to the left a little bit. And I'm just going to move my highlight slider slightly to the left. And then if you need to darken up the black point, move this black point slider to the left. If you need to make it less black, move this slider to the right. But I think it looks good right where it is. And the white point too. If you need to make your whites whiter, move this to the right. If you need to ease off on your whites, you can take this and move it to the left and just tone those whites down a little bit. Kind of acts like a highlight, but it's dealing mainly with the whites of your image, where your highlights are just a little bit left of the whites. Okay, so let me go ahead and double click that. We don't need to adjust it, but we can play with our lighting too. So this image started out looking like this, and now it looks like this. So we have a lot of sharpness in here. Now, if you went too far on your adjustments, you don't have to go back and readjust everything. However, you could do that, but you could just come up to the opacity slider and just start to back it off a little bit, like so. In fact, you could take it the whole way off and there's no adjustment, and then just start to build it up slowly and stop at the point where you think it looks good. And you know, you might end up saying, hey, at 80%, I like it. So here's the before and here's the after. So this is a nice fine-tuning finishing touch here. If you felt you were a little too aggressive, just ease off in your opacity a little bit. Well, there it is. That was the deep dive into the precision detail filter inside of Topaz Studio 2. I hope you enjoyed this one. Now, remember, a few videos back, we looked at the precision contrast filter. Now, hopefully, you'll understand the differences between the two. So go back and watch that particular tutorial if you haven't watched it yet, so you'll be able to see the differences here. But I love these two filters. Precision detail is really great for bringing detail out in your image in such a beautiful way. And there's so much room here, and you can fine-tune your image to perfection. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe and then click that bell notification icon. Then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified about it.